welcome back to another opinion episode here of the TPO Doc Talk podcast. What's happening, folks? Man, that last video we did with the James Watson MLF situation blew up here. There's been a fantastic amount of information that's come out from this, most recently on the Luke Duncan podcast, which, folks, I'm going to tell you right now, if you're not a lowlifer yet, you need to be one. If you enjoy getting truth and real information inside the competitive bass fishing scene, then the Luke Duncan podcast is where you need to be. I have been following Luke's show for some time, and I'll tell you, it is some of the most realist conversation that you're going to find. Luke doesn't throw opinions around when it comes to, letting personal opinions get in the way of what he reports as information. He just spills the truth, man. And when he gives an opinion, it's his opinion on it. But that podcast he did with a worldwide man was fantastic. And lo and behold, dude, our take on this was kind of just, there was a lot of affirmation that took place in that, because we were spot on with a lot of our thoughts on where this situation ended up. But the bottom line is here, let's go to this. What's next, right? I mean, that's what we're talking about here. What's the next stage? We've all identified an issue. We know where the problem's at over there, and most people that I'm talking to out there want the same result. They want to see things, straighten up at the MLF. They want to see the other anglers over there not get caught up in this mess from one individual, and their personal vendetta and ideas towards stuff. At the end of the day here, man, that's really what we're talking about. So how do we do that? Well, I'll tell you what we don't do. In my opinion, here comes an opinion. What we don't do is that cancel culture bullshit. Okay, that's what we don't do. I'm sorry, but I don't care what side you sit on, and I don't care where the cancel comes from, whether it's a pair of millennials wanting to cancel a motor oil company for something they said, or whether it's Kid Rock wanting to cancel Bud Light. I don't buy into this cancel culture mess. Because unfortunately, what you're doing there, this is why. Let me explain this before you get too huffy puffy out there. The reason is because there's too much collateral damage in that. All right? Not everybody that worked at this organization felt like the one bonehead who made the bonehead move. So by you canceling the whole thing, you're wiping out all those other people's futures as well. You're affecting everyone there. And that, quite frankly, can be avoided. So that's why I personally don't dig into the cancel, culture horse crap. But there is something that we, as a crowdsourced, set of information, other, people that love the fishing industry, that love bass fishing, that follow these anglers and their careers, and that are trying to, make and create a career of our own in our own little niche of sport fishing. There's things we can do with this to help support and get the right resolution on it. And I've got a thought on this. I mean, right now, what we have, James Watson jumped on the grenade, man. All right? He absolutely 100%, in my opinion, jumped on the grenade. He knew what he was doing. He knew what was going to come. He played a game of chess with this. And unfortunately, fortunately, Boyd has proven that he's not good at chess. In my opinion, Boyd Duckett's good at checkers. He's not good at chess. And the reason is my reasons on that stand multiple times. This most recent issue here, Watson just basically checkmated him, in my opinion, with this move, because he's exposed this now to where it can't be covered up anymore. Boyd's, my way or the highway, iron fist attempt at rule, and trying to shut down anglers' opinions, trying to shut down their views, don't let them speak their mind, don't let them have anything wrong to say. I don't know of a single place on the planet where you work where everything is perfect, man. I really don't. And so if someone says something that isn't right or should be fixed or whatever, especially when that organization was created for the very purpose that the anglers would have the decision about where this thing goes. The anglers were supposed to be able to vote collectively and decide what happens next. Not have their hands cuffed, not have their mouths gagged. That was never supposed to take place. And, I think this statement was made with Watson and Duncan on that show. The rug got pulled out from underneath them, man. And it most certainly did. And now the young guns are seeing this kind of stuff. There's a lot of people in the ranks over there that can't afford to lose this gig, man. They just can't. They got families they're trying to provide for. And so they can't do this. Watson is a very smart man, very calculated in what he was doing. And he happens to be in a position where he's able to go toe-to-toe in this situation. And quite frankly, as I said, the way I see it, he jumped on that grenade. And is taking this in the direction it needs to be going. What my desire is to start circulating some information out there for the sole purpose to let's make sure this wasn't in vain, right? Let's make sure James Watson's sacrifice of what he just did here wasn't in vain. We got to be smart about what we do as a collective fan base for the MLF, as a collective fan of these anglers and supporters of the fishing industry. We want to see our sport grow. We want to see good things and prosperity take place. We don't want to see what's going on over there at the MLF right now. In my personal opinion, the simplest and best way you do that is you attack the money. You attack the money that feeds the MLF. What I mean by that is we know the issue stands at. In my opinion, the issue is what's at the helm right now. Boyd Duckett. Boyd is the problem. He has been the problem. It's been known. And Boyd has around every corner, Bass has outmaneuvered them. There should have never been a competition between the two. There should have been maybe a friendly competition to help drive, costs down and make a good consumer market. But around every corner, it doesn't feel as if there's been any real true cooperation between the two. And quite frankly, every time MLS makes a move, Bass counters with a slight move that's far more impressive. It's far better. And I think they're about to do it again. I'll get into that's a total different video that we'll get into. But I think Bass has got some stuff in the works, man, that they're going to outmaneuver them again. And they're just going to crush into this where the big names will want to leave the MLF. And what happens when the big names leave? The fans go with them. The big names have the most fans. When the fans leave, well, then what's that leaving for the sponsorships over there? If we let the MLF die on a vine, well, I'm telling you right now, that will shake up and cause far more negative damage in the initial immediate future than what it would be as if the MLF could right its course and get back on track with all the stuff coming from the BFLs leading up. And as I said before, Boyd's only part of the problem. He has set into motion so many things that are going on over there that need to get fixed up and cleaned up and squared away. And I have a lot of opinions based on that kind of stuff, but we're not going to get down that rabbit hole on this video. The money piece, Outdoor Channel, first and foremost. That's Kroenke Sports. That's the big player, man. That's one of the big heavy hitters when it comes to the MLF. Any information we can get to them about the fact that we believe as an industry, as people, there's a reason why the FBD hats and shirts are selling so well. Want to be fans of the MLF, but can't really get behind something when there's a bonehead at the helm. And that's a problem. That's a problem for a lot of people right now. We know those anglers are not being treated fairly. We know the field is looking shady at times when it comes to stuff. Whether it is or isn't is not my point. It just looks at it. It has the appearance of it, which is bad. You don't want that. There's appearances and muttering of like favoritism that takes place, in those cases. And that stuff's just ugly, man. That's just not good for the sport. It's not good for the MLF. And he needs to go. I'm saying it straightforward. For a business to thrive, for the MLF to thrive, Boyd Duckett needs to go. He's got to get out of that position. He can't be the guy calling the shots anymore. He can't be the guy at the helm of this thing because, quite frankly, the past few years has shown he's failed. And right now, there's a lot of people that are banking on that surviving and thriving, and that's in question right now. It's in question a lot. Outdoor Channel is one of them. Another one, General Tire. General Tire got behind, several of their stuff there. You know what? If they're hearing the very same thing, too, from us, from the collective fans out there, Toyota, that's a big supporter of the MLF. If Toyota's hearing it, sooner or later they start to pay attention to this, and if they start hearing or seeing the disdain that people are having for what's at the helm there, well, then they're going to start, as stated on the Luke Duncan podcast, on the podcast there with James. You know what? They need to protect their investment. They want to protect their investment, so they're going to be asking questions about this kind of stuff. Bottom line is they should sponsor the MLF. They should stay over there. But there's a problem over there with who's running that deal, and they should take notice of this. They should do their part to basically put pressure on to get that resolved so that the fans return, so that the fans can stay there, so the anglers will actually perhaps maybe get somebody to right the ship, get rid of that invitational as you have it lined up, because it's a ridiculous series to put that kind of pressure on the anglers. To create another level and wall of just expense. It's a ridiculous thing to expect sponsors to try to throw up and pony more dollars for something like that when you have the Bass Pro Tour right above it. This thing can be cleaned up. This thing can be straightened up 100% across the board, and it wouldn't take a whole lot. And the other piece is MLF needs to work with Bass. Bass needs to work with MLF. The good of our sport depends on that. So you need somebody at the helm of the MLF that's going to do that, that can bridge, talk across the aisle there, that can bridge the gap between the two. Understand that there's okay to have healthy competition. Nothing wrong with that. The consumer benefits when there's healthy competition. But what's not healthy is the constant bickering and fighting amongst each other that causes a division in the sport. You don't want that. That's not the point of this. And that's not healthy whatsoever. So that's where it's at, man. I mean, if you're going to make this thing worthwhile, if you're going to do something, attacking the money is where it's at. Just boycotting the MLF and cancel culturing the MLF and not watching MLF stuff and doing this and this, even though you want to, because they've got your, some of your anglers you follow there. I don't believe 1% at all that is going to lead to the desired outcome. Will it shut things down? Will it cause a damage? You better believe it will. But what my worry is that's collateral damage. That's a shotgun approach when I think a rifle can be used here. I really do. I think enough pressure coming from social media, enough pressure coming from phone calls, letters, you name it. People knowing people. The more the industry hears about this, that the fans and that the people out here have had enough of that hierarchy that's in place over there and want to see the MLF get corrected, sooner or later they'll hear that the fans are not happy with the direction that the MLF is going. Fans are not happy with what the anglers have to endure over there. We don't like this. This was not what it was supposed to be. This is a 180-degree turn from what the MLF was first originally created for. And I'll tell you, here's one that I heard, and I've got to go vet this. I got to go find this piece of information, but it's my understanding that there's a podcast out there where one of the key members, one of the anchor original members, big name, is talking about going fishing the Bass Opens, if that doesn't tell you what the state of this looks like. And that person is Edwin Evers. Dude, if Edwin Evers leaves the MLF, what in the hell is that saying? Oh my gosh. Edwin is a very smart businessman who's not going to do dumb things, and he's not going to put up with garbage. And quite frankly, I think he and several other good friends of his, they have hung on to this for quite some time. And I think they're hoping maybe that something gets changed up there. But I was told that there is a podcast where Edwin even says he is considering fishing the Bass Opens. Edwin's a very competitive dude, man. And so, I'm not sure. He could probably take his past champion exemption and go right to the elites, I believe. Angler of the Year, Bassmaster Classic winner. He's Lord knows he has a resume enough to host it. So, but regardless of all that, if that's true, if I can find that information out there somewhere and see where Edwin actually says that directly, if that's true, good night. I don't know what much more you would want. What do you need? Ott Defoe to leave? Do you need Andy Montgomery to leave? Do you need Skeet Reese to call into question this mess that's going on there? How many of the legendary anglers that we have in that field do we need to hear from before we start going, hey, there's a beef there, there's a problem there? And this, it just begs the question: was KVD's retirement kind of boosted up? Did that have something to do with this? KVD is a professional through and through, and you're never going to probably hear. There's only maybe one or two people, or maybe nobody will ever really know the exact reasoning on that. But it certainly does make the mind wonder, doesn't it? You start wondering about these things like, man, sure, the MLF style, hasn't been stellar, but it's KVD. He's still a threat to win any place that he goes. And so you have to look at that going, did he speed things up on the retirement piece because he saw what was taking place here? I don't know. One other big, major supporter of the MLF and the Bass Pro Tour is Bass Pro Shops, man. Bass Pro Shops. If anybody could have an impact or a statement somewhere, you'd think Johnny Morris would. The more Bass Pro hears about this, the more Bass Pro sees this kind of stuff going down, hopefully they start to pay attention to it. They start to hear that more podcasts are talking about it. More of the fans are to the point now where we've seen enough. We've heard enough. We've seen enough. We know what's going on, and we're ready for something to change over there. And we don't want this series to go away. And we don't want those anglers that are in that series to get caught up in this horse mess that's been created by Boyd. We don't want that. We want Boyd Duckett out of that seat there and put somebody else in there who's going to truly, return real leadership to the Major League Fishing and return to the values by which it was founded on. That's, to me, that's the call right here. That's what we need to do in there. And you can indirectly hit that by talking and putting pressure on those sponsors to start moving it around, because without the major player series sponsors, the MLF is in big trouble. And they're going to pay attention to that. If there is a board there, that's the thing I'll leave you with. If there's no executive board involved with this, then all of this is for naught. And unfortunately, it means that Boyd will run this right into the ground. If there's an executive board, this is where I keep calling on Kroenke Sports, because if anybody would have protected their investment, I can't help but think it would be Kroenke. They've got a track history. You look at that organization and things they own, from major NFL football teams to NHL hockey teams to NBA basketball teams. They're involved in pretty much every major sport out there: soccer, lacrosse, you name it. And of course, entertainment with the Outdoor Channel and more, Altitude TV. There's a lot of stuff that Kroenke's involved in, man, and I can't think they wouldn't have some of this protected. So that's basically my take on it, man. That's where we go next on this. Is don't let this thing die off like the internet does. You know what? It's been a hot buzz topic for quite some time. Don't let that fall. You know what? We as fans, we can demand certain things be handled, and we can continue to support areas without, causing that collateral damage on a major level. There's many good people involved over there at the MLF. Kathy Fennell probably right at the top of them, as stated. You heard what Luke and James said about her. And she is, everything we've seen and read about her and the interviews from her. Kathy was recently, I think in the past couple of years, introduced into the Bass Fishing Hall of Fame, and rightfully so. But her hands are going to be tied in this situation, and she's going to do what she needs to do there, obviously, to maintain. But that's your person right there. That's who should be running this thing. She has a known history of working with the FLW. She has a known history of working with bass, having them as a competitor, in the field there, and she's a professional through and through. And she's the current VP. If memory serves, which means I think it's an easy transition out with the Duckett and in with the Fennell. You know what I mean? That's where we should be seeing this. So absolutely, folks. Like I said, appreciate you tuning in on this. These things have been has been amazing, the support we've seen on this little opinion series we've been throwing out. We got some others. We got some ideas for some other shows we're going to piece together and throw out here. You can catch our main show on the Paddle and Fin Podcast Network. We're out there constantly on Monday nights. That's when we drop our new deals. We cover a lot of obviously kayak fishing stuff and the nonprofit world that we cover. But your support and comments on this are highly appreciated. Leave me your thoughts again, man. Let me know what you think. If you think I'm on crack, think I'm smoking weed, think I'm spot on, just let us know, man. And to James Watson, super impressed, brother. We are beyond. You're more than a personality now to me, and I'm looking forward to the time when we get a chance to actually meet, maybe collaborate on some stuff, and do some awesome work out there with our with like you, our nation's veterans and such. And so, looking forward to that. Luke Duncan, keep on trucking over there, brother. We're a huge fan of your work out there, and you set the bar really high for those little guys like us out here that are trying to work our way through it. So appreciate all the great work you do. And to the fans and everybody that was chiming in from these videos, we can't do this stuff without you, and we are beyond grateful. Tight lines, everybody. Be safe.